Hi, I'm Mackenzie.
Hey, I'm Denise, and welcome to the podcast from Rundown to Renew. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. She is a dedicated wife, homeschool mom, curriculum creator, podcast host, best selling co author, and educator with over 20 years of experience in elementary and special education. Her passion for teaching has led her to develop and teach the EduPlay learning curriculum, which provides practical strategies, hands on learning activities, and resources for families around the world. Please help me welcome Christine Furman. Yay, we're so happy to have you, Christine. And I have contributed a chapter for an anthology book, which you heard about last week on the podcast. It's called Course Corrected. You can find that on Amazon. So we wanted to just dive deeper with Christine this week and hear about her chapter and have her share some of her insights as a believer with all of our listeners. So welcome, Christine. Yay, we're so
Thank you, ladies, so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here with you.
yeah, absolutely. So, Christine, I mean, you and I have known each other for, oh my gosh, I think
Like,
it's been 8 years because it's as old as Kinsley. Kinsley was
yes,
like 3 months old when we met. That's how I measure our
that's
friendship.
what I was going to say. It was one of our kids, whichever
Yes,
that one was. So, yes, eight
yes.
years.
Kinsley
I
was
love that.
she was about 3 months old when we met. We met at a vendor event back when
Hmm.
we were both doing direct sales, and then
Yes.
I've actually done some of her EduPlay curriculum. So for
Hmm.
any homeschooling listeners, Christine is an amazing, amazing resource for all of those things. She's was born in PA. She's lived here a long time, and then you guys moved to Georgia
Right.
a few
5 years ago, like this week, like,
insane.
yes, 5 years ago in August 2020. So, during all the craziness of 2020, we were packing up and moving all the way down from PA to Georgia. So,
That is wild and
mhm.
amazing. And so we're just curious for anyone listening that moved or has like in the process of like searching for a new church. Like I know how active and committed you guys are to your church. What was that whole process like?
So for us, I was sharing a little bit before that when we were moving, I was researching in some of the Facebook groups. And I said, well, where are some good areas to move? Because blindly, I mean, we were just moving to Augusta, Georgia, knowing nothing about it. And so I'm doing all the research in the Facebook groups. And they said, well, one, where's your church going to be? And where are you working? And I was like, I have no idea where my church is going to be, right? Like I've never been there, so I don't know any of the churches, right? So I thought that was very interesting as, coming down south. That was the first question. Where's your church going to be? And I think that speaks volumes for itself, right? It's like when you come here, where are you getting plugged in? And within minutes of us finding our house, as we're moving in and everything, move in weekend, our neighbor came out to introduce herself and she said, hey, just wanted to invite you to our church. I mean, right then and there, within that introductory, and it was during 2020 at that time. So we just checked it out online and we watched all the way up until January. We were just kind of getting our feet wet, figuring out what we were going to do, settling in, and then we went in person in January. And oh, let me tell you, just speaks to my heart every single sermon. And I say that all the time. I'm like, you're talking right to me because I can take every single word that they're speaking and I can apply it to my life. And that to me just feels like it's such a good fit. And I have grown so much in my faith in these past 5 years. It's just unbelievable. So, finding the church that best fits your family is really important, and I really think that has really been a huge factor for our family for sure.
So you said you attended online first and then went in person and you were just like your whole demeanor changed.
Hmm.
So for the listeners that are just attending online and listening, like that is a great first step. But
Yeah,
what kind of encouragement would you give them to get into the church building?
Mm,
that is a great question, Mackenzie. I highly, highly recommend going. I do agree. It is a great first step, and if you are just coming back to your faith, I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of people that grew up one way. They've walked away from their faith in one aspect or another for whatever reason. And then I just encourage them here, just listen to this sermon. This sermon reminded me of you, and I want to share it with you.
mhm.
So I totally agree. It's a great first step. but then to be in the church, to be around faith filled, faith like people, it's really such a powerful experience, and being able to sit there and take those notes, and then no distractions too, right? We have two kids. I have an 8 and 10-year-old, but when we started, they were not 8 and 10. They were running around and we were watching online. And I remember I have a picture of them setting up drums and they were pretending like they were being on the worship team and they're singing. So like that was so great, but it was like, now I'm trying to listen to the sermon though, and you're still drumming away.
Yeah.
So definitely that aspect of it too, of like I could come and I could just be totally focused
Mhm.
and there were no other distractions, because sometimes I watch online if we're sick or for whatever reason, but we could be in the kitchen making breakfast, or we could be, someone could be talking to me and I'm like, listen, I really am trying to pay attention to this sermon. So when we go, we are totally dialed in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting because I was talking to someone just this past week who has kind of walked away from the church, and they had very valid reasons, a lot of hurt. And I mean, there were seasons in my life where I stepped away for a season as well, just for hurt
Mhm.
reasons or for whatever. And I think it's, how Mackenzie said, like, you lit up because it was so different, like being in there. And what I was telling who I was talking to about getting back into it, I said, listen, like, it takes faith and it takes grit to try again in the church when you've
Mhm.
been hurt,
Yes.
and I think it's sometimes hard to find that fit, but when you do, it's like you're such a prime example of like, I want to listen, this fits, like we're connected, like we light up when we're
Mhm.
there, my kids are connected,
Yes.
it's so I think I would just encourage anyone listening that has maybe walked away, right? I mean, you said you have friends that have walked away. Like, I think
Mhm.
all of us have either done it ourselves or know people who have, Um, I totally understand the gravity of some of the hurt that people face in church. And I also know the gravity of like those connections though that you have when you're there are so
Mhm.
important. So it's
Yes.
just
Absolutely. And I just want to share, there's a few things that you made me think of. One, find a church that does meet the needs of your family. There are so many churches, there are so many denominations out there now. If you've been raised Catholic, it doesn't mean you have to go back to the Catholic faith. If you've been hurt and you are like, I really want to be a part of it, but something just doesn't fit for me,
right.
and I think that's so important. And I think what a great opportunity we have to be able to try out everyone's church, whether it's in person, because sometimes that could be a little awkward, right? Like you go once. I know for me personally, we did this a lot of my childhood. Okay, we would find a church for a while and then my parents were like, we don't really like it, so we're going to try somewhere new. And week after week, we would go and we would try somewhere new. And all I longed for was to belong to a church. I
Yeah.
wanted a church family. So when we had our kids, I said, honey, I don't care what we do, but when I was pregnant with Ella, I said, let's start looking now and find a church family. So then that way they can continue to grow up with this family. And that was really important to me. And we found a church when we were in Pittsburgh. And then with 2020, we moved during that time too. So then we were able to find somewhere here that was a good fit for our family. We actually were invited to another church prior to, from someone before we even moved here. And I was just like, I didn't feel like that would be a right fit for us. So by doing that was the better option for us. And we had that flexibility and that freedom to try somewhere new and
Yeah.
find the one that does fit our life and our season of life even.
Yeah. What would you I'm sure this will be challenging to choose, but in our conversations, just between the two of us, when we've talked about sermons and stuff, you'll always say, because you said it even in this interview, like, oh, this sermon, it'll be so great for you. I've heard you say that so many times. So
Awesome.
it's true, guys. She's not making this up. She really does say that to her people. What are like some of your, maybe one or two of your favorite either series that you've heard or things that really connected with you that really enhanced your faith?
Okay, so I'll talk personally now in this season of life, right? I'm an entrepreneur and I believe like my pastor at my church, he has an entrepreneur spirit. So for me, that is like a true connection. And when I've talked to him about it, he's like, there are so many like minded people in this church. That's why it feels like such a good fit for me. Because I feel not only can I apply that to my life, but like it speaks to me in my business as well. Like, oh, yeah, I need to do that, not only in my life, but with my business. They just did one Family First. This was this past week, and it's going to be a whole series. There's so many series. It's hard for me to say like which one
I know.
specifically, you know? But it was all about like, what are the prayers for our family? Especially now we're all transitioning into a new season, back to school, fall. What does this look like for our family? And we do 21 days of prayer in August. So pray those specific prayers. And he said yesterday, I'll tell you two things. And I've quoted this in my books that I've done. I don't think course corrected, maybe, but the one before that. There's two things that my pastor always says. He says, do the possible and let God do the impossible.
Mhm.
And I always love that because I'm like, that's so true. And sometimes we forget. We think we have to do it all. And it's like, you do what you can. And then as long as you have that faith, he's going to step in. And yesterday he said, if your dreams can be accomplished by you alone, you're not dreaming big enough. And I was like, whoa, all right. I feel you. And I was like, and I do feel like I have big dreams, but I have to put my faith forward in every aspect. And I think that's something that I'm stepping into right now is like my faith forward in my business, when I'm writing my content, when I'm recording my own podcast, when I'm, my finances or an event, like praying through it all because he needs to be in all of it.
Yeah.
We just had a episode about inviting God into everything that you do. And it's just that alignment, right? That
Mhm.
you feel more at peace and steady when you have him in the center of everything. Everything gets imbalanced and rocky when you step away from that and you start doing it yourself and in your own
Mhm.
strength.
Yeah, I told Mackenzie about this. There's a lot of things that I'm juggling right now, but I feel like God has also given me the capacity to do it. Like I wouldn't
Yes.
have, like a year ago, I wouldn't have had the capacity for the things that He's called me to do in this season. But I think sometimes as women, we want to control and we want to do all the things all the time.
Yes.
I mean, men struggle with this too. This is a human issue. This is not a woman
Right.
issue.
Right.
But I think because you kind of alluded to that, right? Like faith forward. Like when I try to control everything, that's when everything gets out of
Mhm.
alignment. And so it's just like, how do I keep bringing it back to God? How
Yes.
do I keep in every single aspect? Because when we try to do it in our own strength, we don't have the capacity at
Mhm.
all. Uh,
Right.
and then we're just completely, we burn ourselves out. So it's
Definitely.
like, what do I have capacity for? And then I'm going to trust God to do the rest.
Mhm.
That's a
Right there. I mean, that's it, right? I mean, we could say that is what it all comes down to, absolutely.
yeah.
And there's two things that came to mind for me was one, in my season, this season right now, Denise, just like as you're saying, right? The capacity that I have for the tasks, I didn't have that a year ago,
Right.
right? My clarity wasn't there. My focus or something has shifted for me that I'm like, all right, Lord, I know exactly what you want me to do, and I can sit here and I can do it. And I feel like in every season, maybe a new piece has been unlocked,
Mhm.
and I think that's it. I think we try to just take all of it. I know for myself personally, I do. Denise knows this about me. I try to take all of it at one time. And then it's like, just focus on one piece, unlock that piece first, and let that piece become routine before you move on to the next task or the next project. Me, I'm like, I have 9 projects going at one time and I should be able to get them all done by the end of today. That is me.
That's not true. So the little, like, just as you were saying all that, like a little side note, I actually used to work with Christine. I did a lot of like the back end things for her. And those were a lot of our conversations. It was very much like, I have all this stuff. And I said, okay, Christine, but like, what can we do today? Are you
Right?
sure that we can, And so but it was like always in love and like lightness, but it was just like, Christine, though, I don't know. I'm loving this for you. What's the most important? Like,
Yes, I just try to bite off more than I can chew, and I'm like, I can do it all. Like, why can't I do it all? My husband's like, you try to put, 2 months into one day's worth of work. And I was like, that is true.
yeah, that's so good. Hey, so we're talking about all the things that you're doing. Tell us a little bit more about your chapter in our book, Course Corrected.
Yes. So this will be my third anthology, and I just love it. So three anthologies in 1 year. So that was a big
Wow.
year for me writing. And the first one was really about my entire journey. How did I get started on this path of I'm a homeschool mom. I was an entrepreneur first, and then the homeschool part kind of followed as we kind of embarked on the 2020 on the move. And it was like, this just is natural for me. I've already been teaching my kids all along.
Yeah.
Now I can travel whenever I need to, and I could teach them what I need to. I mean, there was a lot of things that kind of came into that. Then the second anthology I did was about the blocks. And it was like realizing that I was doubting myself throughout this process. Of course, everyone knows this. That's kind of how I come about with things. Like what I have to say may not sound valuable, but then I have conversations with people and they say, I didn't know that. Like, or sometimes we need those reminders. So I was definitely doubting my skills, doubting what I could bring to the table and offer families. And this anthology was about how did I do all of those things? How did I fall down multiple times and continue to get back up? Because it's not been a seamless journey. Running a business, homeschooling, moving, having no one around from the outside, right? We have social media now and we look and we say, oh, look at her with her family, and oh, they're vacationing and they're doing all these things, but that's not really showing the hard work that's being done behind the scenes. That's not showing the tears or the frustration or the I quits, because that's happened many times for me. It's like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't do both. I can't be pulled in all these directions. And so I talk a lot about that in my book. And the biggest moment for me was when I said, I'm done, and I quit. And I told my kids, I'm done with the business. I was never done homeschooling them because that is really important to me. Homeschooling my kids, can threaten it all day, but I never would send them anywhere else. I really do enjoy every single minute I have with them. I enjoy teaching them. But I was like, I'm done with the business because I'm being pulled in all these directions and I can't figure out how to do them all well. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was it. They walked out of the room. I'm frustrated. They're frustrated. And I'm like, all I want to do is spend my time with you. All I want to do is take you on field trips and do all these things. And Ella comes in later and she gives me this note and she says, Mommy, I don't want you to quit your business because if you quit, my kids can't come to your academy when I have kids. Yeah.
God, Christine, I have chills everywhere.
So right then in that moment, it was like, it's not about right in this season.
Yeah, wow.
It's about this legacy that we're leaving behind. It's about what it was just so much bigger than me. Again, need to invite God in every piece of this because it is way, way bigger than me.
That's right.
For these goals and these visions that I have. And for my kids to see that, they don't want me to stop either. They want this to continue. And that right there was like, I talk about that in the book for sure, because that was a big moment for me.
I'm excited to read it.
I am too. I'm fighting back tears listening to that because I know you and I know your children, and it's just, I was thinking, I was telling Mackenzie at Mother's Day, this totally ties in to like our kids just like telling us
Absorbing
to keep
and looking.
absorbing and watching us and telling us to keep going. Those cute little Mother's Day things that they fill out. It said, what's your mom's job or something like that. And it said, speaker at women's conferences.
Aww.
And I'm just like, it's true.
Right?
I mean, but yes, absolutely. Right. And like, that's the dream.
I love that.
The dream is to really just continue. And we are building this ministry into conferences. We have our very first one in November. We're so excited,
Yay!
Um,
Congrats, ladies.
thank you. We're very excited.
Yeah.
More to come. But it's just like,
We're
that
watching.
defeat that you feel and that exhaustion that you feel, that is
Mhm.
very real. And many times we do want to quit. And then I feel like when God, like out of the mouths of babes, right? And that's
Mhm.
really, God used her to really just like rein you back in and remember that it is, I think that's just such an encouragement to anyone listening. Whatever you're doing, just remember that it's bigger than you and it's okay to be tired, but that exhaustion is an invitation to press in
Mhm.
to God, like 1,000,000%. Like it is an invitation to rest and lean in and press in
Yeah.
because he will meet you and he will do what only he can do
Yes.
while you do what only you can do. So what do you hope people gain from reading your chapter?
To not give up,
Mm.
truly. The title of my chapter is Keep Going Anyway. Trust God's timing when doubt creeps in.
Love that.
And to me, that's so, so true is like, just keep going. I've had doubt many times. And I remember I had my assistant read my chapter and I said, will you read this and tell me if it's not too much up and down? Like, does it make sense? Is it flowing? And she said, but your journey is not linear. It's
Wow.
not just, your journey is up and down. You've had your highs and you've had your lows. I've spoke and I've been chosen as a top 10 in an international stage at this conference in Las Vegas. And I'm on this high and I'm teaching all these kids. And then there are times when it's like, oh, I feel very defeated. I feel like I can't get ahead in many areas. And it is like that. But something that I've never caved on or wavered on is one, my faith, and two, my children. Like they have been what have carried me. The Lord has carried me, but my kids, I wasn't going to overextend myself and have my kids not feel like they were seen. Right? I mean, I'm trying to put this into words the way I want to say it. My kids have been my priority. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
He has designed families to show God's love,
Mm.
Mhm.
and he wants that to be portrayed through relationships. And
Yes.
Christine, I don't know if you know, but I also homeschool. I have a ninth grader and
Cool.
Oh my
grader.
gosh.
Yeah,
Oh my.
actually pulled my son out in middle school. It was going into seventh grade. And so that was my first year homeschooling. I did just him because of that doubt, right? That
Mhm.
creeps in. And so when I did that, it just really opened my eyes to so many different things. But I joined that community is so important. And
Yes.
so I joined a mom's group that meets once a week. And it was like when I wanted to throw in the towel and be like, this was supposed to help our relationship. This was supposed to do all these things. I don't know if it's doing that. Like maybe we should just throw in the towel. That there was one thing, and it was all me. It was my issues. Like I am regimented and I like things a certain way. And so when he has 21 questions in math and it takes him 4 hours to do that, the one lady that has graduated 12 children
Oh
was
my
like,
goodness.
yeah, she's amazing.
It's amazing.
She's like, have
Wow.
him do all the odds or have him do all
Mhm.
the evens. And I was like, what? You can do
Mhm.
that? So it's just like your perspective when that shifts, and when we're doing all of these things, when we're running businesses, we're educating our children, because whether you homeschool or not, you're still educating your
Yes.
children.
Absolutely.
Still the main source of everything that they need.
Yes.
And you're doing all of these things, you have your hands in so many buckets, you can start to feel run down really easily when you're relying
Mhm.
on yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what I was just, my daughter's at camp right now, and I send her a little note, and I was talking to her about surrendering. She has some worries that pop up in her brain a lot. And so I was like, imagine having a box and putting every worry that comes inside and taping it shut and handing it to the Lord.
Mm.
And I was like,
That's
this
so
is what
good.
that's what surrender looks like.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
anytime a worry comes up, put it in a box and give it to the Lord. Like he can handle those things.
That's right.
So
Mhm.
when we are feeling run down and our hands are in so many buckets, like I just want to encourage listeners, box up those worries
Yes.
and give them to the Lord because he can handle anything.
That's
and
right.
he's a lot stronger than us, so he can take it all. Don't think it's too heavy.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, that is such a beautiful reminder, Mackenzie. I love that so much. And such a great visual for our children and for us adults. But when our kids can actually visualize those kind of things, it definitely helps them to be like, oh, yeah, I can do that. I love that reminder. This is totally, a little side note, but the reminder of when you talked with that homeschool mom and she said, well, just don't do them all, and like those are some of the tips and tricks that I share. And sometimes it comes off like, well, yeah, like it's just like that's what comes to my mind first, but that's not always what happens.
Yep.
I've had that conversation with just a friend recently. It was like I'm trying to get back into my workout routine, and sometimes I just need that reminder: just drink your water, just go for a walk. And it's sometimes those simple reminders that we need that makes a difference.
So with what you're doing right now and what God has called you to, what would you say there a challenge has been that you've had to overcome to actually step into what he's called you to do?
Oh, lots of challenges. I have to say, one of the first things that comes to mind is I was in a community of teachers. A lot of my social media, a lot of my friends were teachers. When I then stepped away from my teaching profession, my career, still friends with all of those people on social media, maybe go out with a couple of them, but still see my social media posts, right? So, my thoughts when I started to step this other direction, well, what are they going to think about me? Because now I don't want anyone to ever feel like I am downing that education, that this now is what works for me, my family, and now so many other families.
Right.
And if there are families that are struggling, I want them to know that's not the only choice, where you do have an option. If it's within your control or you have that ability, this is an option that may be a good fit for your family. But there's never for anything that I do, it's never about judgment. I talk with moms all the time as well of mom life. That's how all of this really started, was Momspiration. And it was about just encouraging moms. So everything I do, I just want to be encouraging to them. And sometimes that doubt does creep in. Like, oh, does this post come across as encouraging or is it demeaning? Because I never want it to be demeaning. I just want to put myself out there and say, this is what has worked for my family and it could work for your family.
And that's where discernment really comes in when sharing anything, and that prayer, inviting God into it and being like, what do you want to be said here?
Yeah.
Versus
Mm-hmm.
what we want to say.
Yes.
Usually has much more eloquent words.
Yes, for sure.
He really does.
Yes.
We women, we can get real special with our
Have you
words
seen
if we're not
those
careful.
those little reels where it's like, God, when I decide to erase everything I was going to
And
say,
it's like
and he's like clapping and
Oh no, I haven't seen that. That's great though.
like when you want to be petty and then you decide not to be because it's like
Yes.
it's really going to
and
serve
God's
you.
like,
And God's like, don't you do it?
gotcha. Good
Yes.
job.
Or, you send this long message of venting to a friend and then that message doesn't go through. And it was like, okay, I got it out. It didn't need to be heard by anyone else. That has definitely happened. Sometimes I delete it on purpose because it's like, you know what? I just needed to say it. And no one else needed to really hear it.
A lot of the times people don't,
I
right?
know.
Right.
It's so real. Or just say it and then delete it or just
Mhm.
get it out of you. That's fine. You should, but be mindful of who you're
Right.
saying things to.
Yes, for sure.
Oh my goodness. Well, we've talked about, your journey and your chapter. Oh my gosh, I have chills.
I'm so
I'm
excited.
very excited about your chapter. So, what would you say is something that God is building in you in this season that you're in?
That's a good one. So, right now, I'm feeling this shift to really share more about what I do, more about who I am as a Christian homeschool mom. And there's sometimes I have this internal struggle because I am Christian and I teach my kids all the Bible stories. We go to church, we really are faith forward. But I know that there are so many families out there that they're looking for a good curriculum that they may not want it to be so faith forward. So I often struggle because I'm like, I want to help these families. I'm that person. I want to help everyone. But that's kind of it. I think the Lord is just calling me to be a light. No matter where you're at in your journey, just be that light to them. And again, non-judgmental, be able to offer them support and guidance and say, no matter where you're at, I'm here to walk alongside you, because that's what he wants me to do, is just be that light for people and let them know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
I love that.
And we're all called to do that as Christians, right? To
Mhm.
be the light.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
My chapter is called Breaking the Chains, Finding the Light.
Ooh,
That's pretty cool. Like,
I love that.
Mhm.
I do have something I want to add, and I want to share. This kind of goes back to some of the things we've talked about at the beginning, and it really goes with Rundown to Renewed. And the whole name of your podcast is a story that I was reminded of was when I was in my 20s. And so I talk a lot about where I'm at now as a mom, as a homeschool entrepreneur, all those things. But one of the big pivotal moments in my life was in my 20s. I'm living on my own. I'm going out. I wasn't going to church like I was with my parents. And like I told you, we bounced around and we found a church, but I didn't really feel like I belonged. And it was good. I enjoyed it. When you're in your 20s and you're like, nah, I'm either working late Saturday night or I'm going out or I'm not going to get up early in the morning. That was me, to be honest. And it was like, I can make those choices for myself. And a lot of things started to snowball. I lost a job. I wrecked a car. There's multiple things that happened, but then the final thing was like, I lost my car insurance because I had a previous accident. None of these were my fault. Well, the first one wasn't. The second one was probably my fault. But they sent a letter and was like, your car insurance is being terminated. And I was like, oh my gosh, like my heart dropped. And it was like, this is real life. And you're 23 years old and you're like, crap, what do I do now? I'm just trying to figure it out. Just got out of college, trying to find a real job, trying to figure out who I am as a person.
Yeah.
And then you just get hit with reality.
Mhm.
And I just remember like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do next. And I don't really know what the next step was, but I know at the time my parents were going to a small group and they invited me to come. And that changed everything. I
Wow.
went with them and they were doing this series and they got like little, like our card tags that go on our keychains. So each week you got a new one and it had a Bible verse on it. And like I clung to that so much because it was like I was missing my faith. I had, and I hadn't gone like so far that I was gone from return, but like enough that I was like, whoa, that's not the life I want to live. I want my life to be a different direction. And that to me was like my rock bottom moment with my faith. And from then it was like, no, this is important. This is number one,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
God uses those low points so many times for all
Mhm.
of us to
Mhm.
be like, where is your focus? It's
Yes.
like a parent grabbing their child's head and like, look at me.
Yes.
Where is your focus?
Yeah.
Like, all eyes on me. Listen to my words.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a great reminder.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Mhm. Yes.
Well, Christine, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us and sharing and being vulnerable and laughing with us. It's been really, really fun. Tell
Yeah.
our listeners, like, how can they stay connected with you? Where can they find you?
Great. I am on all social media platforms. You can find me at either Christine Furman, the home education expert. Also, EduPlay Learning is the curriculum that I've created and I teach. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I have my own podcast, Home Education with Ease. So many ways to get connected and I would love to connect with you for sure. Thank you ladies so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep.
I have one more question for you, unrelated to anything. How important do you think it is to be able to share your personal testimony as a Christian and ready to share it?
How important? I mean, very important. Very, very important to be able
Good.
to share. Yeah. Very important to be able to share that vulnerability, to say this was my hard.
Yeah.
And I was able to come back to the Lord. And like I said, even now, just being stronger than ever and just saying everything that I do, it is rooted in Him. Reading the Bible daily and praying for others and not just attending church and checking the box. I've heard that recently a lot where it's like you don't want to just go to church and check that box. You want to feel Him throughout every minute of your day. And for my kids, it's putting on K Love in the mornings. And gosh, that just brightens our whole day. And just, I don't know, I just love that. I love being able to walk downstairs and have them turn it on themselves and listen to them singing and dancing. And that's just so special to me.
We have a testimony course that is coming up here in next week.
Mm-hmm.
It's launching next week. And so we want to encourage anyone that is interested in learning how to share their testimony. This is a 8-week course that is all done online on Zoom. So be sure to check the description and register for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also make sure you're registered for our women's conference coming up on November 8th. We are very excited about it. We're in all the planning modes for that, and we can't wait to see you there. That's going to be in Butler, Pennsylvania.
And if you like this episode, if you have a homeschool mom friend,
Yes,
if you
share,
have
share.
anyone that you thought of that could relate to this, make sure you send it to them. And please give us a 5-star review. That helps boost us into other people's feed.
Absolutely.
And if you are feeling run down,
There is space for you at our table.